Welcome back. It has been a ridiculously long time since any kind of content has come out, especially since an actual review has come out, and I was going through old stuff the other day and going down memory lane. Nostalgia will do it to you. It's time to return, and it's time to do a drink video. It's time to do one that I've seen this in stores for a while, but I've honestly almost had a little bit of fear come into my heart every time I see it, because I just don't think it should exist. I have very low expectations for this. Does it suck? Probably. Let's find out. So, talking about the Bud Prohibition non-alcoholic, as if regular Budweiser weren't bad enough, they had to go and turn it into something even worse. So, with a ridiculous amount of writing all across bottle, can, you got genuine Budweiser. Not sure that's ever a nice thing to actually read on a label. And 473 ml can. I believe the can was something like $2, which price-wise doesn't actually make it worthwhile to drink non-alcoholic. You'd have to be drinking non-alcoholic just because you don't want alcohol, whether that's temperance or whatever. But it's de-alkalized beer, so world-renowned. I don't know if it's world-renowned for anything good, but it is world-renowned. And without further ado, you got the crown seal on there. Has the crack open of a can, but does not foam up like a can. If we pour out a glass, it actually does have a decent amount of head on it. It doesn't smell exactly like a Bud should. It smells a little bit off. It has a little bit too much almost barley or wheat, and it doesn't smell like, I don't know if it's the smell of alcohol in general, just that smell, but it doesn't have the exact same smell that you'd normally be expecting. And oh my god, it's just as bad as Bud. But it surprisingly isn't drastically worse than a regular Bud would be. It like Budweiser, like, at least it's not Bud Light. Bud Light, I personally find, has very little flavor and mostly just tastes like dog piss, but this at least does have the makings of a beer. It's not good in any category of beer if you actually are into beers. Personally, I tend to drink craft, so I prefer to have a very hoppy front, like hoppy beer with like citrus notes. I prefer to actually have like distinctive flavors in the different beers I taste. This just tastes like your really typical like high school, like you shouldn't be drinking age if you're drinking this. And that I feel applies to regular Bud, is that it's not a beer that if you can actually go out and buy your own drinks, you shouldn't be drinking it. It's cheap, it's good for really, really hot summer days because it only tastes somewhat good when it is so icy cold. And it surprisingly isn't as terrible as I was expecting. I've had Beck's non-alcoholic a couple times, and that is, I can't even drink it, I just spit it out. It is so terrible. So in regards to this one, it actually isn't the worst of the worst. I don't think I probably would go around buying more cans, but truth be told, if I were doing outdoor party and we wanted to have some beers at it, and I knew some younger people were going to be there that wouldn't be drinking, possibly get them this just so that they can not feel like they're kicked out of the whole party and can't join in. But for myself, as somebody that can legally go out and buy a drink, I will not be going out and buying any of these, especially given that it actually is the price of any kind of normal tall boy. And there's still about a third of a can left, so this is a pretty small Pilsner glass, so that's partially why. But But that sums up the summary of Bud Light non-alcoholic, which actually surprisingly is better than I expect. It holds the level of Budweiser, which personally in my opinion isn't very high, but it holds itself to the same level. So that actually is good, because Beck's versus Beck's non-alcoholic I find is drastically different. One actually is drinkable, the other should never have been made. But cheers, and maybe grab yourself a real drink.